jerked his head toward the back of the tent. Very well, Kang muttered, still glaring at the dwarf. He and Slith withdrew to the shadows. Sir, that's the dwarf from last night. The dwarf who had the book. That's where the map was. Inside that book. And this was the dwarf in the house with the book. And that's the reason he stabbed you, sir. What are you getting at? Sir, he wanted that book badly enough to run after you. A draconian 3 times his size and stab you from behind. Well, you've got a point, Kang admitted. And look at the way his little beady eyes are darting around. He's searching for something, sir. What else could it be but the map? He must figure we have it. Do you know what I think, sir? I'm getting there, Kang said. The book tells us what's in the treasure room. He knows. Kang regarded the dwarf thoughtfully. He's a clever little bastard. Bad as they come, too. No dwarf with a clean conscience can even touch our queen's medallion, and he's been carrying it around like some bloody heirloom. From the looks of him, though, I'd say he'll die sooner than tell us anything about the treasure. That's just it, Slith said, growing more excited. The curse, sir. He spills what he knows about the treasure, and you remove the curse. What curse? Kang was puzzled. Nobody put a curse on him, though I wish I'd thought of it. It doesn't matter, sir. He thinks there's a curse on him. Ah, Kang said. Perhaps you're right. He and Slith returned to the front of the tent. The dwarf was watching them askance. That will be all, Kang told the Baz, who saluted and left the tent. Now then, Kang fixed his reptile eye on the dwarf. What's this about a curse? You know, said the dwarf sullenly. You cast it on me. Suddenly he burst out. First it's war, then it's elves in Pax Starkis, then the Dark Knights grabbing people off the road, then draconians in my living room, and last but not least, Morthane under my window. Take it off me, the dwarf said through clenched teeth, or just kill me right here and now. All the time he talked, his eyes were searching every part of the tent and all its contents. This what you're looking for? Slith pulled out the folded map, laid it on the table. The dwarf barely gave the square bit of parchment a glance. He shrugged. No, I'm not looking for anything. I'll make you a deal, Kang said, returning to his chair. I'll remove the curse, if you make it worth my while. We happen to find this map. It looks to us to be some sort of treasure map, but the writing is all in Old Dwarven, which we can't read. There must be something on that map that's worth the price of a curse removal. What is it? The dwarf bit his lip, stalling. Kang held up the holy symbol. Reaching out, he plucked open the dwarf's pocket. Perhaps you'd like this back. All right, the dwarf gasped, shuddered. Get rid of it. I'll tell you one thing. The words seemed wrenched from him. You've looked at the map? Yes. The dwarf drew in a deep breath. His gaze went to the holy symbol one more time. His shoulders sagged in defeat. Finally, he revealed the secret of the female draconian eggs. Females? Kang whispered. That's not possible. Yes, it is. It's all in the book. The dark clerics and the black-robed wizards made females, so that they could perpetuate your race. But then the high muckety-mucks decided that they weren't all that sure they wanted your race perpetuated, and so they left the final spell undone. But we were in Naraka, Slith said, voice harsh. We would have found them. Not so, said the dwarf craftily, because by that time, the Daywar had stolen them and taken them back to Thorbardin. They were going to sell them, but before they could, the thieves had a bit of a falling out over how to split the treasure, with the result that it was heads that got split, not the treasure. You're saying the eggs are still there? Kang's voice faltered. It's a good possibility, he shrugged. Mind you, I can't guarantee anything. Well, how about it? That valuable enough for you? Yeah, sure. Kang felt dazed. He waved his hands over the dwarf's head 3 times, said something in Draconian. He was never quite sure what, but it appeared to satisfy the dwarf. He straightened his shoulders, shook back his hair. Right. I feel like a new man. He cast a wistful glance at the folded map. I don't suppose one little peek. Slith snarled and bared his fangs. The dwarf nodded. Gotcha. See you around. He winked, and with that, ducked out of the tent. Sir, the boss thrust his head inside. Do you want... Let him go, Kang said, still dazed. Escort him through the lines. Make certain nothing happens to him. Yes, sir. The boss was dubious, but he knew better than to question his commander's orders. Kang heard the dwarves' heavy-booted footsteps recede into the distance. Kang and Slith spent the remainder of the day making plans. They selected a small force of 25 draconians, made up of civics and bozics, with a mission to Thorbardin. Later that night, the draconians hid on the outskirts of Celebundin and waited. Soon, they saw 20 armed dwarves clad in uniforms, under the direction of the war chief, marching down the street toward the scrawny dwarf's house. Kang recognized many of them, including the brewmaster. 4 dwarves exited the house and joined up with the others. Then they all moved out, the war chief in the lead. Once the dwarves had exited the village, Kang ordered his troops to move out. For the next 2 days, the draconians followed the dwarves, around the side of Mount Celebund, and up to the approach to Helifundus Ridge. This was the same route Slyth had traveled when he followed the 4 dwarves on their last expedition. Kang spelled out his plan. We'll cross the ridge tonight using cover of darkness. I don't think we have to worry about being seen. We're close to Thorbardin. Their secret entrance must be near, and the dwarves will probably be underground before we even reach the ridge. Once we're there, we'll wait until daylight to search for the hidden entrance. I'll ask our queen for my spells. All went as planned. The troop reached the ridge, never seeing a dwarf. Kang made certain his men were settled, saw the watch posted. Rummaging in his pack, he drew out his newly restored holy symbol, and, holding the medallion fast in his hand, he began to climb up a dry creek bed. He'd caught a glimpse of a cave up there, the perfect place for him to commune with their dark majesty. But when he reached the cave, he was surprised to discover Talon leader Huzzud waiting for him. The knight was dressed for stealth, not armored for battle. She wore her sword, but kept it sheathed. Her hand was on the hilt, however. Standing in the shadows of the cave, she regarded Kang with cool speculation. Then she motioned. Come inside, out of the sun. I'm alone, she added. I'm not, said Kang dryly. I have 20 men down below. We're not going back, Sir Knight. Tell your lord that we're warriors, not crap-hole diggers. And we're sure as hell not going to go back and be executed as deserters. I'm not here to exact punishment on you and your men, Commander, Huzzud replied. True, I was sent to find you, and I've been following you for days. If I'd wanted to kill you before now, I could have done so. I am ordered to tell you that your role in the army of Tarkhesus has been reevaluated, Commander. For the first time in the history of Krynn, Kang, the forces of her Dark Majesty control Ansalon. Oh, certainly there are pockets of resistance, but the High Clerist's towers is ours, as is Palanthus, and all the rest of Solamnia. The cursed dragons of Paladine have been forced to flee. Victory is ours, Kang. Victory for Her Majesty. Then why have you been sent to find us, he asked. It seems the war is won and as good as over. My lord told you of the vision? Kang nodded, wondering why the sudden shift in subject. The vision gives each knight a clear understanding of the goals of the knighthood, Huzzud explained. Her gaze shifted to the bright sunlight beyond the cavern. The vision reveals the knight's own part in Her Dark Majesty's plan. The vision comes first at our investiture, and then many times after that, changing and flowing with the river of time. Her gaze shifted back to Kang. My lord has, these past 2 weeks, experienced a new and frightful vision, Kang, and the same vision came to many of us in the knighthood. And what is this vision, Sir Knight? The High Clerist's tower is under attack. Solemnic knights, Kang said with an oath. No, not the knights. In fact, she paused, sounding awed. The Solemnics fight at our side. We fight against horrible creatures, demons that are not of this world. Or perhaps they are of this world, but have been held prisoner in the fathomless darkness below the abyss. Prisoner until now. Now they swarm over the walls of the High Clerist's tower. Lord Ariakan falls, mortally wounded. The gods are fighting in the heavens. The gods are fighting, and they are losing. Huzzud's voice was hushed. Her face was pale, her eyes rapt and staring. She was seeing the vision again in her mind. A band of heroes rides forth to do battle with the father of the demons, the father of all, the father of the gods, Chaos. He has sent these friends to destroy us, to obliterate our sun from the heavens, to return us to the void of which we were made. No memory of us, of any of us, will remain. A shiver made Kang's scales click. What happens, he asked, his mouth dry. The heroes are defeated, Huzzud said softly. The world falls into the hands of Chaos, and he crushes it and wipes the dust from his fingers. Kang blinked. So, that's the end for us? No, said Huzzud sharply. She shook off the vision, snapped back to duty. The vision changes as time changes. What I have seen in the future may never come to pass. It may only partially come to pass, or it may never come to pass at all. We are instrumental in shaping the vision. In a way, we are most honored, for we are given the opportunity to fight alongside the gods. You're going to Thorbardin, aren't you, Commander? She slid that one in so swiftly that Kang was caught off guard. He recovered, shrugged, and said, We are? That's news to me. Smiling, Huzzud reached out and took hold of Kang's clawed hand. You were in my vision, Kang. That is why the commander sent me to find you. I have a message to give you, from Her Dark Majesty. She is well pleased with you, Commander Kang. You have survived in a hostile world for many years, and in all that time you have remained loyal to her. You have shown intelligence and wisdom. Others would have killed the dwarves in your valley, but you, by permitting your enemies to live, have in turn lived off them. Your wisdom has been rewarded. The dwarves have stumbled across a valuable treasure, very valuable indeed. And I do not mean steel or jewels. Kang stared at Huzzud. His hands trembled. Huzzud could not have known about the dwarves. Kang had never told her anything about them. Certainly she could not have known about the treasure map. This message was indeed from the Queen. Kang bowed his head, humbled and grateful. Huzzud's grip on his hand tightened. Inside a chest decorated with my symbols are 10 dragon eggs. 2 gold, 2 silver, 2 bronze, 2 brass, 2 copper. They contain female draconians. The females are alive. Or rather, they will be when the final spell is cast. And how can that spell be cast? Kang asked bitterly. We have no dark clerics among us, no black-robed wizards. You do not need them, said Huzzud calmly. Their work has been done. You need only a wand, a very special wand. How will I know it? The wand is made of obsidian, and is as long as your forearm. The bodies of 5 dragons twine around it, each dragon made of precious gems. The heads of the dragons join at the top, their tails twine together at the bottom. The knowledge of how to use this wand will come to you when needed. Speak her name. That is all that is required. The wand will do the rest. Thank you, Sir Knight. Tell Her Majesty, Kang was choked with emotion, that I do not know how to thank her. She has a way, said Huzzud, and her voice was grim. Deep inside Thorbardin live those who will, if they're not stopped, be Kryn's doom. The enemy you may be called upon to face is far more terrible than any living enemy you could possibly face on Kryn. These are the creatures of chaos. We will destroy them, Kang vowed, clenching his fist. What are they like? Huzzud stared intently into the darkness, stared back into the vision. At length, she shook her head. I cannot tell. All I see is fire, the heroes withering and dying in the flames. I see the world itself withering and dying. I'm sorry, Kang. I know nothing more. Here my vision ends, and so does my message. Then how do we know what we're supposed to fight? Kang asked, frustrated. How will we know when we meet these fiends, the Dark Queen's enemies? When you see her sign, this sign, Huzzud released Kang's hand. With her finger, she traced around the image of the 5-headed dragon on his breastplate. You will know that what you do for her dark majesty, and at her behest, and with her blessing. Huzzud rose to her feet. That is my message, Kang. I'm sorry if it's not clearer. I hope you find the eggs. I hope your race survives. Kang stood up. I hope we all survive. Thank you, Sir Knight. Thank you for coming. You've brought me great hope. That evening, after they'd all gotten some sleep, Kang and his troops crossed the Helifundus Pass. When they reached the other side of the ridge, the troops spread out, searching for the dwarves' trail. It was easy to find. Too easy. The dwarves were obviously not covering their tracks. It was almost as if they wanted to be followed. Kang warned the troops to be on the lookout for an ambush. With Selquist in the lead, the dwarves descended the ropes into the air shaft. The descent was accomplished with an immense amount of clumping, banging, swearing, and talking in what they considered loud whispers, which would have been shouts to any other race. Grabbing hold of Augur, who had just landed, Selquist took him in tow and went off to do a little scouting. Thorbardin was a considerable distance away, but with the noise this troop was making, he wouldn't have been surprised to find every Hylar dwarf in the place, down at the bottom, awaiting their arrival. The worst of it was, Morthane and his soldier dwarves thought they were being both sneaky and stealthy. Selquist and Augur reported back that the dwarves of Thorbardin were at war with each other, which meant that they would probably be too distracted to notice the presence of the hill dwarves. Morthane grunted his approval. He was trying to figure out how to recover the ropes. Just leave them, Selquist suggested. The draconians can use them. Morthane's eyes bulged. He began to sputter. What? Draconians? What draconians? The draconians who've been following us, of course. The draconians who have the only good map. I can get us and them to the starting point, but after that our map's a bit muddled, and we're going to have to rely on them. Morthane was rendered speechless. Now, Selquist put his arm around the stunned war chief, drew him off to one side. Here's my plan.